drinking. It's not hard. Dino Gore, very good at it. He's champagne taste. Likes a good champagne and an oyster. I think to be honest, it's what you do for a job, and we're fortunate in this country to have opportunity shows like this where you get to, even on our soap operas here, like Shortland Street, those issues are dealt with quite regularly, and I think as actors it's a privilege to be given the opportunity to tell a story about those things. But at the end of the day, as they say, you've got to let it go, move on, go home, and in some cases cook dinner or drink. Sometimes Emmett drinks. Sometimes I do. He's enough to drink.
I am. Thank you, Timmy.
Have engaging with these, especially gender relationship issues on the Almighty Johnsons, has that changed your attitudes at all in relationships?
Not for me personally. I've always had a strong belief in gender equality and all of those kinds of things. I was brought up by a single mum with 4 boys, and she did quite well. So I've always had a very, very worldly, I guess, understanding of all that kind of things. How about you, Tim?
Yeah, no, I was brought up in a nuclear family, and explosive stuff. Very fortunate to have that sort of upbringing, and fortunate to have a family that believed in respect for all races, creeds, genders and stuff. So I also think both Emmett and I come from a theatre background, and when you work in the theatre, you're dealing with that stuff all the time, both on stage and backstage in professional capacity. So you've seen a lot. You've seen a lot by the time you get to work here, I think. And we take it for granted, really, to be honest.
So neither of your mothers went off to become trees?
Actually, no.
For Tim, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, unfortunately, or fortunately, no.
None of the gods seem to be bisexual or gay, but one goddess in the series was bisexual and another one was a lesbian, but then the lesbians started taking male lovers. Why is there such a focus on heterosexuality for the guys?
I guess in a way that the story we've chosen to tell is a Norse myth or part of Norse history about Odin and his relationship with Frigg, who was a female. So I guess that's the driving story behind the show, is a heterosexual relationship. I guess if it was a homosexual relationship or a bisexual relationship that was the myth we chose to follow, it would be a different, the relationships will be different, the sexualities will be different, but that's what we've chosen to explore.
I think also, to be honest, when you're dealing with what I said before, it's a reasonably risky premise in terms of mainstream free-to-air television. To get people, the wider audience, to buy into the idea that these normal guys are gods is a big challenge in itself. If you were to overlay the fact that introduce homosexuality or bisexuality at that early stage, you're making that challenge even greater. So I'd say that if the show beds in and continues to grow, then those are the opportunities I think that you can bring in at a later stage when people are comfortable with the original premise and start pushing the boundaries at a later stage. Because we all know the Norse gods were a little bit, they could take it both ways a lot of the time. So it's certainly territory that is not that is well bedded in terms of their mythology.
And I know there's a great story on its way between Loki and Thor, who cross-dressed and went to bars. So I can't wait to see Jeff Dolan and one of our fantastic actors, Shane Cortez, get their gear on female style.
And I'm not going to do a spoiler alert. I'm not going to do a spoiler. I don't know how to say that, but in the second series, on episode 5 of the second series, something pretty special happens with this character. I won't say any more, but we certainly, as I said, pushing the boundaries as we go along.
And like I said earlier, it's about Axel discovering his own values by being put into all these situations, and there are situations involving sexuality that help to grow him and give him that chance to make his own decisions about what he thinks about the world, rather than having Anders tell him one way or Ty tell him the other way. So it does all eventually have a chance to be explored in the show.
I thought season 2, episode 5 was an idea that has been done before, but I thought the way you did it was unique, and I really loved it.
Yeah,
it was a very popular episode here.
I enjoyed reading it until the point I realised I wasn't actually in it, and that's all I'll say in terms of spoilers.
In season 2, the Maori Gods were brought into the series. Did you guys work with the Maori community on these episodes?
Interesting, because I storylined that episode and wrote a draft of it. And because I work in development in the company as well, so when we came up with that story idea, we have a Maori consultant or advisor. So we ran the idea past him first to get a blessing to do it and to get our facts straight, so that we weren't going to cause any greater disrespect by saying the wrong thing or using the wrong gods, because there are cultural boundaries in the Maori world that are quite specific, and it's easy to get them very wrong. So we took advice, and then of course once it's cast, and the actors that we cast were fantastic, and they all have their own take on the material, and generally they wouldn't do it if they didn't feel comfortable. They wouldn't have done it if they didn't feel comfortable with it. But by the time we got to production of that episode, those guys were comfortable and they had a lot of fun doing it.
What was the reaction from the Maori community?
Funny you should say that, because I bumped into a lot of my kids are Maori, and they go to a full immersion Maori school, and the Johnsons, which is where they only speak Maori, and the Johnsons is very popular there amongst a very broad Maori community. It's real people doing real jobs, but they happen to really like the Johnsons. So when that episode and those characters arrived, they thought it was Christmas. They thought it was great. Yeah. Because again, it's as we were talking before, it's about, we have this great opportunity with this show to introduce interesting guest characters and characters from different niches of society. So whether it is a bisexual character at a later stage, or Maori gods, or Norwegian gods, whatever, we can do that. As long, and the only real rule we have with the show is that if you're going to do it, you've got to have fun.
Yes, yeah. So if there is a third season, will the Maori characters come back?
It's too early to say, but I would think, why not? I mean, as they say in the rugby world, they're high impact players. You bring them off the bench. I don't know a lot about rugby, but I think that's what you tell. I was doing quite well, and I realised I was failing there. So they're impact players, I guess the example of that too, a character like Thor. I mean, he's a fantastic character that you bring in. It's like spice in cooking. You only use cayenne pepper sparingly, but when you do, it's greatly appreciated.
And I also guess the beauty of television is no one's story is completely told unless the character dies. So there's always opportunity, such as what we've done with Thor, is opportunity to bring him back like a nice cayenne spice, perhaps. Bring them back when need be. And I definitely think the Maori Gods story hasn't been completely told yet.